Dmitry, thanks for being with us today.
Добрый день.
Hi there. The first question, as always, what's your background and what you're doing right now?
Ну, сейчас я
Well, right now I'm
управляю
running
объектами, собственно
different
говоря, как и
projects,
управлял им ранее.
as I used to do
Разный
before.
статус, но тем не менее это объекты,
Different
которые
projects
называются
in
ритейл,
retail,
общепит,
public catering,
производство, ну и DIY
production,
ритейл.
DIY
Это то,
retail.
что на сегодняшний день
That's what we're
находится в
doing right
моем
now in
управлении, в
our
управлении
company.
моей компании. Это то же самое,
It's the same
что
as physical
на
market, or if you
физическом
think more
рынке,
like a stock exchange
только
market.
вернее, это
With the only
похоже на
difference is that
рынок
our assets, they are
фондовый, только
more
это на
tangible
физическом
since you
рынке.
can touch
Вот
them.
и вся разница у нас
We're addressing
активы
the problem of
живые, и,
many people
соответственно, их
for
можно
trying to
пощупать,
retire, but
и
do not have any
проблема там
successors
для людей,
or
которые
team
уходят
to
на
run their
пенсию, или у них
projects.
нету преемников,
And
или у
we
них нету
provide them with
команды.
operations
Вот, собственно говоря, мы
administration.
ее и
That's
решаем.
why we call
Операционное
operations
управление. Поэтому у
administration
нас называется
company,
компания
not
операционного
just some
управления, а не
management company.
управляющая компания, как в классическом виде.
So the company is called Management
Да,
Development Group.
абсолютно верно.
That's right. You're the founder and managing partner.
Да, я основатель,
I'm the founder
управляющий
and managing
партнер.
partner, precisely right. So for how long have you been doing this? I mean this
Ну, эта
company.
компания
Well, this
зарегистрирована
company was
достаточно
registered
давно, то есть
for a
это
while
лет
ago,
уже
about
так
6-7
6-7.
years, I
Другое
guess.
дело, что в
But then,
отличие там
compared with some
зарубежных компаний,
European
которые могут
companies,
существовать
here in
в
Russia,
рамках одной печати, это может
entrepreneurs
быть
can keep
под
up with the
одними
brand,
теневиками, к
but they
сожалению,
have to
территории
change
Российской
the
Федерации,
registration
как
structure,
понимаете, вынужден сохранять имя, но не
unfortunately, of
сохранять
course.
печать. Увы и ах.
We're gonna expand on peculiarities of Russian entrepreneurship later today.
Это
Yes,
отдельно.
that's something totally different. Exactly. Can you tell us, how did you start being an entrepreneur? Was it during the university times or afterwards?
Ну, это достаточно всегда сложный
Well, it's
вопрос,
always
потому что
hard
человек,
to
который
address this question.
начинает заниматься
Starting
предпринимательством,
being an
потому
entrepreneur, what
что
does it mean?
когда меня
Can I
спрашивают этот
say
вопрос, я
that
говорю,
I
ребята,
was already an
считаете, что я там в
entrepreneur in the
третьем
third
классе
grade of school
фарцевал
when I was
жвачки?
trading chewing gum?
Все говорят, ну, вроде как нет. Я
People
говорю, ну,
say
кому
no.
как?
When I say
Например,
it
при советской
depends, during the
власти, ну,
Soviet Union
наверное,
times,
иностранцы могут
foreigners
никогда не
probably
понять.
won't
Вот
get it.
мы жили в
But
хрущевке,
still, we used to
хрущевка
live in
до сих пор
Khrushchevka
у
type
нас
of
есть,
house, which
это
we
мы
still
только
have.
немножко там более облагорожены, родители
It's way
получали
better right
особый
now,
весь
and my
доход.
parents receive some income from it.
Я менял или
I
фарцевал
swapped or
жвачки
traded
так,
so
что
many chewing
пятиметровая
gums that
кухня
all the
была
5
обклеена
meters kitchen
Дональдами.
was sticked
То
with
есть
Donald images.
для, ну, опять-таки,
You know,
иностранца это сложно понять, но если
again,
бы он
it's
понимал,
hard to
что
explain
представьте,
it
что
to
вы
a
живете в
foreigner.
стране, в которой
Just
просто
imagine you live in a
никакой
country
жвачки нет.
where there
То
is
есть
no
никакой
any chewing
вообще
gum
нет.
on the market,
А
like
тут
at
вы
all.
приходите вот в
And then you
гости к
visit
человеку, у
someone's
которого
house,
абсолютно убитая
and the
квартира,
house is a mess,
но все 5
but
метров обклеены
all 5 meters of the
5-метровыми,
kitchen is sticked
5-сантиметровыми такими
with 5
Дональдами.
centimeters
То есть
Donald for us.
по сейчасшним меркам, я считаю, что тогда у нас был
I
не просто
think
золотой
we
унитаз, а
not just
золотой
had
унитаз,
some golden
600-й
toilet back
Мерседес
in those
и
days,
все
but
остальное.
golden
Другое дело,
toilet,
что
Mercedes
это было
car,
такое хобби.
and all the
А
rest.
так,
But I
первая
think it was
компания
more like a
зарегистрирована
hobby.
была там в 89 году.
The first company I
Я
registered
уходил
in
регулярно там, что
1989.
называется, в
I used to
наемничество,
work for
но
someone else
сразу
on a
могу сказать,
regular
это была
basis. But
последняя
let me
беседа с
explain you.
Тиньковым.
I just had a
Я могу сказать,
conversation
что
with Tinkov,
по
and I can
российскому
say that,
законодательству, если у вас
according
меньше
to
там
Russian law,
51%
if
акций,
you
то
have
вы
less than
рядовой наемник.
51% of
И вопрос
ownership
не в
in any
процентах акций,
company,
которые вам
means you work
принадлежат.
for
Для
someone
управления
else.
компанией достаточно иметь
However, to
там
run the
0%
company,
акций.
it's more than enough to have
Яркий пример.
0%
Многие
of the ownership.
предприниматели делают
A
там,
great
не знаю,
example, many
какой-нибудь
entrepreneurs
спа-салон.
create some sort of spa
А в итоге
salon,
получается, что они
but
несут
then
полноту
they
ответственности, а
take all the
реальными
risks.
предпринимателями
But the real
являются у них
entrepreneurs are
девочки-мастера,
those
которые
girls who do
просто
all the
делают себе
daily job.
маникюр. А они держатели
Those
печати
guys,
и
they
держатели
just
всего
registered
риска. И
company
тут вопрос,
and they
кто
take the risk. So
предприниматель?
who is the final
Вот ты,
entrepreneur?
как
The one who
зарегистрирующий
registered the
печать,
company
держащий это
or the one who
аренду,
does
или
all the
тот, кто
daily job?
делает непосредственно руками. И вот это очень
And that's
немаловажный
a
момент,
very
поэтому
important
ключевое
issue.
это
So
вот
I
здесь,
think the
в
main
этой
one is
штуке
here.
предпринимательства. Так что
Entrepreneurship
с
is
какого
there.
возраста я
So
занимаюсь
when did I start
предпринимательством?
being an
Я
entrepreneur?
так живу, скажем так.
It's
Это
my
стиль жизни.
lifestyle. That's the way I live. What motivates you to work every day? I watched the Tinkoff program recently, and you said that it's not about money,
Совсем не в
or
деньгах.
it's not about
совсем
money
не в
at all,
деньгах,
like at all.
потому что,
Because
ну,
you
деньги
know,
это вот
money is it's
шариковая
here.
ручка. У вас
Money is a
денег в
pen.
кармане, я
I
думаю, что
believe that you
больше
have
существенно, чем у
much
меня.
more money in your
Просто
pocket
я
right
этой
now than
ручкой лучше
myself.
пишу. Это
But then
можно
again,
сказать,
I can
знаете,
write with this
что вас
pen way
мотивирует?
better.
Меня
It's
мотивирует,
the
не
same as
знаю,
to
холодильное
say
оборудование,
what
стоящее в
motivates you.
магазине. Ну,
Well,
согласитесь, приоритетно,
refrigeration
да.
equipment
Но
motivates me.
это
It's
же вы поймите
nonsense.
правильно, это такой
But then
оксюморон,
again, try
который
to
все
understand.
применяют, что предприниматель
Entrepreneurs
работает для
can't
денег.
work
Все равно,
for
что говорить,
money.
предприниматель
It's the
работает
same
для
as to
холодильного
say
оборудования. Нет,
entrepreneurs
не
work
так.
for refrigeration
Это
equipment.
стиль жизни. Просто
It's a
когда ты хочешь
lifestyle.
обслуживать
When you want
клиента,
to serve your
постоянно ты
client
этим живешь,
every
ты каждый
day,
раз
you live by
думаешь,
this.
а что
All you
ему
think about
предложить,
is
а как
what to
ему
offer him
предложить.
and how to do
Я сразу
so.
могу сказать, для
And I can say that for
которые живут
foreigners
изначально в
who
такой
are born in this
среде
environment
изначально
of good
достаточно
service,
давно.
from the
Это очень
childhood they
такой,
lived there
ну,
and experienced
непонятная,
it.
непонятная
It's
ситуация.
hard to
В
understand.
России это
In
практически лето,
Russia,
как
people like
таковые, как
myself
я, они
were more like
являются,
an
в общем,
outcast in a
белыми
way,
воронами. Потому что в России там
because
за
within the
последние
last
100 лет не
100
принято
years,
обслуживать клиента.
people did not
Принято
develop a
там
client
набивать
service
брюхо
here.
и
They
жить совершенно
developed
другими
this
ценностями.
capability of stuffing
То,
their
что для
pockets with
иностранцев
money.
практически с рождения,
So
для
for foreigners,
россиянина
this
практически
service is
отсутствует.
something essential,
Поэтому
and here
мотивирует
it's
просто
almost
стиль
absent.
жизни.
So what motivates
Ну,
me?
не
The
знаю, что там,
lifestyle.
какие звезды
I
сложились,
don't know
но
how
меня
it
прет от
happened, but
этого. Вот и все, от
I just
ведения
take
бизнеса
great
как
pride in
такового.
what I'm
Если меня
doing.
сейчас
I have a
положить на
great fun
пляж, не
when
будет
doing
толку
entrepreneurship.
физически,
If I go to a
органически.
beach right now,
Я когда
I'm
вот
gonna have
вижу,
some
когда я
sunburn, but
выпадаю
I'm not gonna
знаете,
enjoy it.
из там, потока движений, когда нету
All
там
that because I don't want
6-8
to lose
встреч,
the track.
задач, там вот сейчас у нас
You
там
know, I'd like to have
22
6,
часа,
8
ко мне
meetings every day.
едет мой партнер,
It's
с
10 p.m.
которым
right
их
now when my
22
partner is
обсуждать
heading to my place so
весьма
we could
сильные дела. Сегодня я
discuss some
проснулся, извините,
important
полчетвертого
issues.
утра,
And I woke up
и
at
меня от
3:30
этого прет.
today.
Вот.
And I
Я
am
ничего с
having a
этим
great
сделать
fun
не
and
могу.
can't
Вот у меня
help myself
потерпеть.
really. Have you ever thought of doing something else in your life?
Ну, вот карьера все равно, я
Well,
что-то буду делать. Я все равно
you
буду
know, I will
как-то
do
решать,
something in any
там,
case.
неважно. Я могу пойти
You know,
я
I can
могу
go and
вот
work for
сейчас
someone else,
условно пойти в
but then
наемника. Но
hypothetically,
меня
if I
сложно
do
нанять.
so,
Мне все равно
I would
любой
demand such a
человек,
great
который
stake
будет меня
that
нанимать,
would
он будет
make me an
вынужден отдать мне
entrepreneur
такой кусок, что я все
automatically.
равно буду предпринимателем. Вот поэтому вот это не
And that's
принципиально,
why
когда он
it
может не
doesn't make
отдавать мне
much
там акции
difference, you
или
know.
отдать все
I
100%
can have
акций.
0%
Потому
of the
что вот
company or
инвестором, вот если
100%
говорить
ownership.
об,
Speaking about
скажем
investors,
так, разделить, вот мог
well,
бы я быть пассивным инвестором,
could I
сидеть на
become a
пляжу, и там бы
passive
мне
investor,
капало
stay on the beach
миллион?
and have
Нет,
my
не
money
могу.
every
Потому
month,
что если вы
like a
скажете,
million?
Дима, потрать
No,
миллион,
because if
ну,
you
не знаю,
say,
там, на
Dima, spend
что-нибудь для
1 million
себя,
for
мне будет
yourself,
плохо. А если вы скажете,
I
давай,
say no,
вот тебе
probably not.
миллион, и
But
давай
then if
чего-нибудь
someone says,
замутим, вот
you
это
know,
мое.
here is
Это
1
да,
million, let's
давайте
launch a
что-то крутить,
company.
это
Yeah,
движуха,
that's a great
правильно?
idea,
А
let's do
просто
this.
тупо там купить
You know, but
тачку,
just spend
ну
some
хорошо,
money,
ну
buy
дальше
some
что? Вон
cars.
они стоят под
Well,
домом,
I have
дальше что?
cars. What's the use of it?
Металлолом.
Junk.
Так что так.
As far as I know, you studied in Radio Engineering and Automation
Радиотехники,
Institute.
электроники,
Radio
информатики,
Engineering,
правильно я читаю?
Electronics and
Да.
Automation, indeed.
Сейчас он
Though they
университет
call it
почему-то
university for
называется.
some reason. Did they change the name?
Ну, это была там,
Well, yes,
где-то
about
там лет
10
10
years
назад
ago they
почему-то
changed all
все,
the
все
names for some reason.
техникумы
All
и вокруг
vocational
стали сразу
educations become
колледжами, все
colleges, all
институты
decent
нормальные
institutes
стали
turned into being
университетами,
universities.
поэтому я считаю, что это
So
переименование
I don't believe in all those
бессмысленно.
names.
Я
Doesn't
всегда
make
говорю, я
sense. I always
хороший
say that
инженер,
I'm a
все.
good engineer.
По мне ничего.
So technical
Да,
background.
технический специалист.
Indeed,
Было,
technical
есть и будет.
background. A traditional question was all the time, what's the role of academic education for the career of entrepreneur? How important it is?
Вот я не могу
Well,
сказать, что
here I
важна, потому
can't
что я
say
встречал
that it's
предпринимателей,
important
которые
because
имеют вообще
I met
никаких
loads of
образований. Вот
entrepreneurs that
у
don't have
меня
any
мой
degree.
товарищ, партнер, он
For
говорит, ты
instance, my
знаешь, что
partner, he
технаря
says that it's
гуманитария очень
always
легко
easy to
определить.
detect if one is a
Я
hard-skilled
говорю,
person
как?
or a
Вот мы с ним
soft-skilled
эксперимент
person.
я
You know,
провел
we
несколько
did a
опытов. Он
series of
говорит, у тебя как деньги
experiments.
разложены?
He asked, how do you keep your
Ну,
money?
я говорю,
I
ну
said,
вот
well,
как? Сначала я
well,
говорю, там в одном отделении
1,000
там
notes in one place,
тысячерублевые купюры, в
500
другом
notes in
отделении,
another
совершенно другом
place,
отделении.
100
Сначала
notes
пятисотки,
in the
потом
third
сотки,
place,
потом там десятки,
and
а
so
на
on
все
and so
вкладно. Он
forth.
говорит, ты
He said,
технарь.
you're a hard-skilled
Вот
person,
ты все равно будешь
because
раскладывать
in
их
any
пупочкой,
case,
пупочкой,
you will
потом
put them in a
журнал,
proper
потому что если у
order,
тебя будет
and
время,
even
ты
if
их
you have some
разложишь
time,
там
you will
картинкой,
arrange the
картиночкой.
images.
Гуманитарий раскладывает неважно
Soft-skilled
как, там может
person
быть вот
doesn't
что
care
угодно
about it.
навешать. Поэтому вот
So I
образование,
believe
оно
that the
базовое дается именно
fundamental,
вот,
basic education
я
is
уж не
given
знаю,
from
от рождения,
childhood.
что называется. Другое дело, что
But
дает
then
образование, оно
the
дает
formal
систему,
education can
систему
provide you with some
знаний.
system of
Но при
knowledge.
этом я не могу
At
сказать,
the
что это
same time, I
является
can't
ключевым.
say
Я
that
даже
formal
читал много
education is
исследований,
essential.
что
I read many
50%
researches that said
предпринимателей
that
есть образование, у
50% of all
50% не было
entrepreneurs
вообще
got
никакого.
university degree,
Поэтому я
while the
боюсь,
other
что это может
50%
оказаться
do not
чисто
have any.
генетической, знаете, как
So
порода
I'm afraid
собак.
that
И
it might
то
have something
вот
to
в
do with
породах собак все
genetics,
равно же бывают
like
там
dog breeds.
какие-то
But even when it
выбраковки,
comes to
поэтому
dog
вот
breeds, there
и
are some
здесь это
changes that we
место
should understand.
там,
So
для
here there is a
социологов,
space
там, даже
for
для
social
генетиков, я боюсь, что,
scientists,
скорее всего,
maybe even for
которые должны
genetic
исследовать и
scientists that
понять,
should research on that and
почему
understand
человек является предпринимателем.
why
Потому что если
people
говорить
become
там, я
entrepreneurs.
периодически об этом задумываюсь, потому что
I
мне
do
задают
think
вопрос,
from
типа,
time to time
системный
about
риск. Я не
entrepreneurship
могу
and
сказать, что я
risk.
рисковый,
I
потому
can
что
say that I
работая
risk too
в
much
казино,
because
там, я поднимал казино
in
от
those days when I worked in the
0
casino, casino. Yes, I did play, I did gamble, but I didn't enjoy it too much. I played mostly because there was a night lifestyle. Plus, the circle of my friends was too narrow, so I had to play, but it didn't excite me too much. Even nowadays, blackjack and roulette is more of a mathematical game to me. I can't say that excites me too much. Yes, I can bet on several numbers to have a look around how everything is going. That's interesting how everything is going in terms of the mechanics, but then the price doesn't matter too much. So I'm afraid that it might be about 30% of genetics and 70% of perspiration and hard work. Let's speak about MBA education. I read in one of your articles for Secret Firma magazine in September, I think. You wrote about Russian MBA and your experience that you did not like. Yeah, I'm quite skeptical about MBA in general. What can I say? Look, we need to divide Western MBA program and Russian MBA program. Western MBA program, it makes sense because it's based on case studies. And MBA should be based on case studies. It should be about statistical data. And if we look at the Western countries, the dynamics of legal system or financial system development and things like that, it's been more or less steady, even though they might speak about crisis. I just say I wish I had your problems. When in Czech Republic I had 2% drop in sales, in Russia it varies from 16 to 32%. So the word crisis, meant by Europeans, just triggers smile in my case. Because, let me put it again, people get used to stability. They don't understand the situation to the full extent. So I wish we had the same problems. When it comes to Russian MBA, unfortunately, it's just the wish to make some money, some quick buck. I didn't see in any Russian MBA some real specialist. Let's illustrate with an example of Evgeny Chichvarkin. When Evgeny Chichvarkin will be a teacher at some MBA school, then the program of MBA will be worth attending. We need more Evgeny Chichvarkin, something only about one, because everyone got his own experience. When you will have a set of those speakers at the program of MBA, because every single one of them can be asked just one question I think every student should ask at MBA program. What did you personally do and what did you manage? What was your responsibility? Yevgeny can prove his words because he was in charge. He put his own money. Every teacher said, well, I consult those and I read those books and I wrote those books. Well, if you write books, you're a teacher then. It has nothing to do with business. What do you think about the new Skolkovo business school, about their MBA program? Well, as far as I know, they become cheaper right now because the effect of novelty has disappeared. And I think sometime soon I'm about to perform there as a speaker. It might be funny. They asked me to talk about human resource and hiring people. I said, are you sure you want me to do this? You sure you want a man, a toughest exploiter of the whole humankind? Yes, 13th of December at 8 o'clock. Gonna be there. In December? Yes, in December. Very soon. So yeah, they say, well, there are different sections, and I say, sure, no problem, I can perform a speech. So yeah, I mean, that's why I'm quite skeptical about all those things. Because let me put it again, I know there are some good guys there who work there, but it's not about them. It's not about them as individuals, but more about them as a team. This team is not gonna work. Unfortunately, I can compare them with an expensive property, scientific property, I would say. Individually, they're all cool, but then as a team, it's a junk. But if you consider Skolkovo as a startup, because I believe you can look at it as a startup, do you think they stand any chance to succeed? I'm not sure, I don't think, no. Plus, I wouldn't consider it as a startup, because normally startup, they tend to have different parameters. Everything should be written in a great way, in a detailed way. Many startups keep chasing me on Facebook, Vkontakte, keep sending them, as they think, some genius plans, which doesn't make much sense. I always say, listen here, son, if you want to do business, you need to understand how to explain Little Red Riding Hood to an alien. I don't know how you're gonna translate it into English, but anyway, a Little Red Riding Hood, she's going through a forest to deliver some food to her grandma. On her way there are some troubles. So now imagine that you need to tell the same story to an alien. Because people seem to understand the idea, it's not hard, everybody gets what it is about. But then I'll explain the same to an alien. You're saying, There is a Little Red Riding Hood. He asks, what is hood? What is it made from? And food, what is it made from? How much it costs? And still, Little Red Riding Hood didn't go anywhere. There's no forest, there's no hunters and wolf. We're just describing the Little Red Riding Hood here. She didn't go anywhere so far. So businessman keeps growing to a brick like this as a book. So once you have it, I say, here right now, you can start. And then, after that, you have a forest, a Little Red Riding Hood who is in the forest. Then it turns out that it's not a forest, but a prairie. And she didn't dress a proper clothes. Instead of some dress, she was supposed to have some coat. So this whole book, you need to reconsider again. So you start from scratch again. There are some mistakes, maybe something wrong with the basket. We need to change the hood of Little Red Riding Hood, change the coat and stuff like this. So that's what business is about. Once you prepared for all that boring stuff, then, as we say, welcome on board. Everybody gets discouraged at this time. They say, how come, we're so cool, give us $1 million, and then we'll spend them in a great way. That's what startup movement in Russia is about. I didn't see any bigger mess than that. And that's why, to be honest with you, I always say, do not support the entrepreneurship anywhere. It's hilarious. You don't have to support entrepreneurship. Just don't disturb it. Is it a mess for the full extent? Do you think there are some good projects you can mention? You can count them with the fingers of your one hand. A great example of it, Danya Mission, who won the competition of young startups. There was a program by Malachov. And, I love Danya a lot. I will support him in any way I can. He called me a while ago. We might do some project together one day. But I told to those people who's in charge for this competition, you do not have the right to send Danya somewhere else, because even though he's young when it comes to the age, his experience as an entrepreneur, he can beat even us. And he will be right, because he got experience. And then we are trying to represent internationally the project of hostels. Hostel is so essential as an idea everywhere abroad right now. How can we surprise anyone? And it was said that we want to win this competition. If we want to win this competition, there must be some gimmick, something unusual even for Western people. I know on 16th of November he got in top 10 leaders or something like this. But that's purely because of his charisma. Because he's an active guy. Not because of this project. So here you don't need to consider Danya, but the principle itself. It's bad that he became the representative of Russia. I was thinking about others, and it evidences about the low level of startups in Russia. I was trying to find something good. It's horrible. Everybody wants to get $1 million. No one wants to work. Yes, there are some good IT guys. Well, what do you mean good IT guys? If you think who is the sponsor of all those competitions, after all those guys, they have this opportunity to go abroad and make their dream, fulfill their dreams there. A great example I always say about it's a bit different industry, not startups, but anyway, those guys who created graphene and physics. There were great fuss about it. They received Nobel Prize, been covered everywhere in media. And then Skolkovo invited them and offered loads of money. And they say, no, we're not gonna go there. And so everybody forgot about them. Why? In Manchester. Yes. Yes, I mean they refused. But they used to study here. They used to live in our country. We need to be proud, no matter what. No matter what political beliefs they have. It's our citizens, it's our fault that we didn't create conditions for them so they could stay and work. It's our fault, my fault, the fault of the whole country. And we forgot about them. I believe that we need to be proud. It's my humble opinion. I don't have much It's science, but it's our citizens. They used to be our citizens, and I feel ashamed that we treat them this way. They should be invited, maybe on a temporary basis, for some lectures. We should be polite with them. What do you think about the current trend when it comes to the potential of the country? Is it upward, downward? I don't see any dynamics there, because, I always say to entrepreneurs that they're all the enemies of the system, not the government, but the system. Why? Because the independent entrepreneur, he will make some independent steps. He will seek his own advantage in terms of the economy around. And because we have all those state organizations or city organizations and government takes parts everywhere, you can't do much really. What is governmental participation everywhere? That's exploiting oil opportunities, and because we have oil reserves everywhere, entrepreneurs, they leave the country. And I'm not talking about the big entrepreneurs, because big entrepreneurs, it's those that, as Evgeny puts it, they corrupted or very close to the authorities. But the small ones, they live as well, those one who earn 1 million per month. In Western countries, they will mean middle class, those who earn that much. And I truly believe that in our country, there is a lack of those people. We have lots of poor people, lots of billionaires, but we need to grow millionaires, because they are the core. They are the core of middle class and the society in general. But it's not good for the system, because they will have to change themselves, and no official would like to do so. Several days ago, they mentioned in some newspapers that Putin founded some fund that will invest money to startups and create some companies at home so no entrepreneur would leave. What do you think about this startup? Do you think we need it? I don't believe in all that stuff. Let me say again, there are loads of funds around, like, where should they invest? Here it's not about money. There can always find money. In Russia there is no problem with money at all. Near every single house there's a Lexus car or Land Cruiser. You'll never see this situation in Europe. We don't have problems with money. A lack of infrastructure, some legal mess is a problem. You can lose everything you have. So if Putin is ready to guarantee that the law is gonna be followed, then again he should change his own people around. If this fund is ready to change the administration system around, because they say that we have at least 4 million governmental officials, I don't believe that we need to have this amount. I think we should have a decent program development and zero government officials. Because myself, a citizen and entrepreneur, I don't need those officials, even European ones. Every official should fulfill some function. He should be driven by good salary and social remuneration, not by the ability to change people's destinies. Speaking about the attitude of people to entrepreneurs and officials, according to Levada Center, 28% want to work in the government, 18% want to work in law enforcement authorities, and only 10% want to be entrepreneurs. Does it change? No, actually it gets worse, because entrepreneurs, they have to be between the government machine that you just mentioned and society who doesn't like them. It's like a toothpaste. Entrepreneurs get out like a toothpaste. He's hated by the government officials because they want to take what he has. He's hated by the society because he shows off too much. That's why entrepreneurs, well, there are fewer and fewer of them. Even those 10% that you just mentioned, they don't want to be entrepreneurs, they want to be oligarchs. Do you think European and world investors are interested in Russian market? It's risky, but the margin is higher than in Europe. Or they are rather repelled. So let me tell you this thing, I do work with European investors and other investors as well. They are interested, well, some of them are interested in taking those risks. But there is another danger here. Do you think the country needs those investors? Because they're short-term oriented. They came for a market just to play and make a short-term profit. He invests money in the country, but he is ready to quit anytime. That might be a proof that the government is weak here. You need to understand who is the investor. It's an adequate, normal person with money. Why he prefers to work with me? Well, I am a reliable partner. I know how to make money. But then again, because of my political views, I might take some risks. So those people who work with me, they work with me not purely because of the money and profits, but more because of the idea. They might have this understanding that the world is global and you can make money in different places, here, there, and it might be a great idea to have representation in this country, because Russia is not a country of bears. It is a country with no competition. You can develop infrastructure here, you can build different projects. Yes, they might be short-term, but they might be strategically important. Let me point this out. Short-term, before 3 years, but strategically important. So yes, there are few investors, not many of them, but there are definitely some, because it's a global competition. We compete as a country. Investors can place their money here. They can do it elsewhere. There is a China, India. Maybe they can find some safe haven there, but it's dirty there. I know China very well. Do you think China is a closed market or an open one for investors? Well, I would say that it might be politically closed, yes, but it doesn't prevent investors from investing, because investors, they can work everywhere. Some of them work in Sudan, some of them work in Somalia, in different places. It's all about the risks and gains. China, yes, well, there is a market in China, and you can invest there too, but it's quite different, and you should remember that. China is a world factory because of the cheap labor force and because they do not care much about the ecology. They created this well-known world brand as a world factory. And us Russians, in terms of the labor division, we still didn't find our own way. And I don't think we're on the track of looking for one. That to me seems to be the biggest problem right now. Well, if you compare Russian and Chinese population, and I think you mentioned it recently in some of the programs, 20 years ago, it used to be the same countries within the same condition. Yes, that's true. But then Chinese, they chose their own way, their own strategy. They preferred to become a cheap labor force, cheap factory. And us, we still have this problem. It's like in this Russian joke about the monkey, who didn't know what to be, beautiful or smart. So we're not smart and we're not beautiful because we're afraid of taking those risks. Technologically, we lost the market for the arms and weapons, and we can't get it back because it's more about politics. The market of weapons, it's a political influence market. Not just someone respects you, but because someone buys from you. Not many buy from us. Catastrophically few. And we didn't become a cheap labor force. As a result, we got stuck somewhere in between. We don't know where to go. We can't go up because it's hard. And we can't go down because it's for pride. That's why country right now is nowhere. That's right, it's nowhere. Speaking about the nowhere, there's a transparency corruption index and Russia is placed somewhere close to the end normally. You mentioned before about the industry and the production in the country. They got a new team, by the way, right? Yes, they have a new team, but it's the same one as an old one. You know, one guy slept with the wrong woman and then married the wrong woman. You know, with a smart marriage, you can become a Secretary of Defense as well. So think about it. And are you an entrepreneur only or an investor as well? Or you're your own investor? Well, first of all, I'm my own investor, and then I have a huge number of other investors. Try to understand. People ask me what I'm doing. You know, I'm having a great fun of doing what I do, of working the way I work. I'm like a shark. I'm always in business. I'm staying on the track. When my money comes back, I reinvest them immediately because I can sit on them. I can stay in someone else's company, you know, in the board of directors once every year or once every month having some meeting. It's not mine, you know, and I can help myself. I'd better go and work directly, you know. At best, I will spend there just 5 minutes and then we'll go to some other room and we'll start working on business processes, design, the strategy. Yes, that's true. I'll do this, but then sit in the board of directors, sleep there, speak about theoretical substances. Well, no, I can't do this. When people say, you know, go and sit on the board of directors, I always say no, I'll go to the battlefield. I can go to all those committees. I can sit there for a while, but it irritates me a lot. It's not mine. Are there any entrepreneurs that inspire you, that help you to find yourself, that you can use as a benchmark in a way? No, no, I don't think so. I don't even pay attention at myself, I don't analyze myself, There are some programs with me, people keep saying, you mentioned this and you mentioned this, I rewind it, well, yes, I did say that, but then I don't care much about it. I don't watch programs with myself. I rarely read something that I've said before. In one of your articles, you mentioned that it's a silly question about the favorite book on entrepreneurship. You said that it's the same as looking for a partner for yourself, You just go and look. There's no book on how to do this. But generally, maybe there is some book that you can recommend. Doesn't matter on what subject. Generally. No, well, there are three books that I normally recommend. They're not about entrepreneurship, but really great reading. The first one is On War, but von Clausewitz. It's a very boring one, but has some great thoughts and ideas. The second book will be The Great Book of Changes, translated by Shuisky. It might be hard to explain it to our foreign colleagues. I think it's because he translated it really great. And the third book is written by Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. She used to be our compatriot, who changed her name. Alisa Rosenbaum. Yes, that's right. Correct. But it's not about entrepreneurship. All these three books, it's philosophy. The philosophy of life. Entrepreneurship is a philosophy in a way. And the very last question before we proceed to the final part, how to be happy. I think that you should just have something or someone you love. I love my work and I love my family, and it's enough for me. That's all I need, really, and I don't need anything else, You need to be satisfied with simplicity, and all the rest, you don't really need it. Everything that is complex doesn't work. As an engineer, I can assure you. Right now it's time for table tennis set of questions. We ask you a simple question with several options and answer, and you just pick up one. Alright? Steve Jobs or Bill Gates? That's a hard question. I would choose different one for different achievements. We need to give a great credit to Bill Gates, because he managed actually to shake the industry in PC market. He created the best sales system. But then, Jobs managed to create something extraordinary from an ordinary product. He didn't invent anything. So I would say that they're like boxers, performing in different. Even one is a boxer and another one is a kickboxer. They're both champions, and they're never supposed to meet each other. They're both equally great. So I can compare them. iPhone, BlackBerry, HTC or Samsung? Which phone would you choose? Which one? Well, I like the left one more. I don't know which one left for you, but this is Samsung and this is iPhone. And I can say that, even this time I managed to find the way out, right? Well, I have both. At least we crossed out two. Well, because BlackBerry it's not very spread in Russia. HTC, well, my daughters should have it, I think. Because it's connected with the internet reception. That's why I have HTC as well. So BlackBerry is the only one that don't have it, because it's not spread. Alright, tea or coffee? None of them. Just drink pure water. You, do you drink alcohol? I can sometimes, but it takes me so long to get drunk. I got such a good metabolism. My friends say that I'm just wasting the product. Going to a party or staying home? None. Just going for a walk. In the forest. Behind me I got a great forest. It's great, I'll just go there for a walk. Which car, Mercedes or BMW? That's not a right question. I used to distribute cars, and I can say that BMW doesn't have a good suspension. It's made from aluminium. It's not suitable for our roads here, so you have to change it from time to time. Speaking about Mercedes, transmission is bad, the engine is not good. BMW does have a good engine. So I wouldn't pick up any.
выбрал не... То есть все
It
зависит
all
от
depends on the
модели.
model. X5 is nothing at all. You know, maybe just to have some fun. Well, maybe Subaru Impreza WRX STI or Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution. So none of what you said. Being married or not being married. It doesn't really matter if you're married or not, but there should be a woman in a man's life. God believer or atheist? I believe in some sort of energetic substance and have my own theory why there are so many religions around. You know, I believe that there is some energetic field and it can pass a filter. You know, once it was in Asia, for instance, there was a Muhammad there. You know, when it passed Israel, Moses appeared, you know. I don't remember all of them, but still, it's been in Russia as well. But it's the same energetic substance. Because I spent a great deal of my time with people, high-ranked representatives of different organizations, different churches, and I can say that those people who reach some enlightenment, who understand, they all the same. They're not tied to any religion. And everything that's written by people like you and me is lies. But there is no doubt that there is sort of energetic substance around. That's a great answer, thanks for that. The very last question, for those people who want to create something, to do something, to start up, you know, they might have some doubts, maybe there are some reasons. What would you say? Some sort of advice or anything? Just go and do this. You know, you might fail, but you need to wake up then. Be proud of your own mistakes. I always say you need to be proud of your mistakes because they do motivate way better than your victories, you know. Just wake up and tell to yourself, this time I'm gonna prove myself that I can do this.